The Joe Glover Trust was set up in memory of Joe, who died in 2006 after he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Every week, around 10 children are diagnosed with cancer.
In May 2011, just before my daughter Charlotte turned 4, she went for a blood test and we got a phone call to go back to the hospital as there was a problem with the results. We were told to pack her bag as she was going to be admitted. We got back to the hospital and within an hour I was told that she had acute lymphoblastic leukemia. That moment, you never forget and your world just falls apart, and it's actually hard to describe how that feels, but it's just horrible. It's, a nightmare really. And we didn't leave the hospital then for 3 weeks as her treatment started straight away.
I'm Dawn and I've got a daughter called Jessica who fell ill in May 2012. On Christmas Eve we were sent to P and Brown ward because the hospital found a lump under her arm the size of a large orange, and after the MRI scan it showed that this wasn't just a fatty lump, it was something much more sinister. And then when we received the diagnosis that she actually had this rare tumour that had very little chance of her surviving, our world was completely turned upside down.
Molly was diagnosed with leukemia in the beginning of July 2012.
My mum was there by my side, so was my dad, and it was I just can't explain how terrified I was.
It was just like nothing we'd ever expected to be told.
Absolutely left speechless as to why would our little girl, our precious little girl, have cancer, and how are we as a family going to move forward and cope with this?
In addition to the emotional devastation, families soon have to face the wider impact of the diagnosis.
Everything else sort of just goes out the window, life. I was a single parent. I was also self-employed. I worked by myself, so I just had to instantly sort of close down my business. We were in hospital for 3 weeks, so everything just gets left during that time. I mean, I managed some brief trips home, but obviously the financial worries start to kick in then about what's going to happen because of our situation.
I've had to give up work. My husband obviously has to work, so I spend a huge amount of time in hospital with Jessica. But obviously there's an impact on my son as well, who's 8, who has to be shipped around to wonderful friends and family to pick him up from school to maintain his normality as well.
I say I had to give up work, I just wanted to give up work. I didn't want to be anywhere else apart from by Molly's side. My husband managed to get a couple of weeks off to be with us, but financially we were down to 1 salary, and so he was actually having to work a bit extra. You get to the point where you just think, if we can't afford the mortgage, then we live in a cardboard box. It was that plain and simple that Molly came first.
The Joe Glover Trust has helped ease the financial burden for families throughout the Wessex region, from help with everyday living costs to buying specialist equipment.
When I got diagnosed, I went into a room and the first thing I saw was a TV, an Xbox and a laptop.
And Molly was, I can't believe I've got this stuff around me.
And I was just over the moon that I could keep in contact with my friends.
And I remember seeing the Joe Glover Trust sticker on there, and I remember thinking how grateful I was because you've given my little girl, a voice.
The Joe Glover Trust gave me an iPad.
Well, at the very beginning of Jessica's treatment, she was having to have daily injections. She still had those now, but she's can deal with those a lot better. But at the beginning, everything was so traumatic. She was in so much pain.
When I have cannulas put in, my brother lifts the iPad up for me, so I have instructions. And I can watch things while it's getting put in.
We were due to go on a small camping holiday, which we'd planned in between 2 blocks of intensive treatment. Unfortunately, my car completely broke down not long before the holiday, so the Joe Glover Trust helped us basically be able to hire a large car so that we could still go on our camping trip. And then just before the end of Charlotte's treatment, we had to move house, and whilst obviously I could pack boxes and everything like that, just the financial and practical issues of moving, again they stepped in and helped with our removal costs so that we could actually have a company to move our stuff for us.
We also support families in many other ways, such as our Days Out programme.
I know loads of families being helped out with days out. For us specifically, we were given a day out by the Joe Glover Trust, which made a massive difference, particularly to my son, who adored the day. And it just meant that he had something very special, which is memories, which he's taken away with him and he will remain with him forever.
The Joe Glover Trust is a small charity and relies totally on individual and corporate support. You can help us. Every little helps, and it doesn't have to be anything strenuous. A small donation of £5 a month would make a huge difference. We've helped hundreds of families in Joe's memory. It's a great legacy to him, and he continues to make me very proud. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you for my iPad, Joe Glover Trust. It's great.
I just want to say a big thank you to the Joe Glover Trust for helping me and my family so much.
To have days, to have memories, we are extremely grateful. So from Dan, me, Jessica and Josh, thank you.
Charlotte's at school today, but if she was here, she'd have a big smile on her face and would say thank you very much for helping us.
So you just need to...
Hello.
Let's try not to, anyway.
Oh.
Don't sing it to it.